Hello and welcome to day 9 of the Christmas Craft Countdown, where I'm releasing a new Christmas craft every day for 20 days. Now you might remember this little Santa Claus gnome from yesterday. I didn't want him getting lonely, so for today's craft, we have a Mrs. Claus gnome to join him. Don't they just look absolutely perfect together? Now this Mrs. Claus gnome file is available to download for free for the next 24 hours. Let's find out how to get it and how to make her. If you haven't already registered your free ticket for the Christmas Craft Countdown, go to craftwithsarah.com/CCC to do so. Once registered, check for an email from me with subject line Christmas Craft Countdown ticket information or any of the other emails from me that you've been sent throughout this countdown. Can't find them? Check your junk or spam box to see if they've gone there by mistake. These emails contain the link to view the Countdown projects and download today's files. Scroll down the page to find today's project. Click the button to start the files automatically downloading to your computer or mobile device. Each download is only available for free for 24 hours after it goes live. If you have missed some, check out the Instant Access Bundle at craftwithsarah.com/CCC bundle, which gives immediate and ongoing access to all of the files from the Christmas Craft Countdown. All downloads come in zip folders. You need to unzip them before you can upload the files into Cricut Design Space. Once you've downloaded and unzipped the folder, open up Cricut Design Space and start a new project. Go into Upload over on the left and then Upload Image. You can then either click Browse to find the file on your computer or drag and drop it in. Make sure you choose the unzipped version of the folder and then the file which starts SVG in the file name. I'll click and drag that in, and it will look like this with all of the layers one on top of the other. If yours looks different and you see the layers next to each other instead, that means you've accidentally uploaded the wrong file. So if that's the case, click Cancel down on the bottom right and try again and make sure you choose the one which starts SVG. Press Upload, and then when it appears in your recent uploads, look how cute she looks with the little Mr. Santa. I'm going to click on her to get the border around and then go Add to Canvas. Here she is, and I'm going to resize her to be the same size as the Santa that I cut out yesterday. First, I need to close this padlock icon by clicking it and clicking it again because it's a little bit buggy. Sometimes you have to click it twice. And then change my height to 8 inches, hit return, and there she is. Oh, did I do her at 9? I think I did him at 9. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was 9. I'm going to go and double check. This design has 3 sort of similar colours on it. You've got the white on her hat and her apron and the bottom of the dress. And then her hair, the solid layer of her hair, is actually a very slight ivory colour. And then the detail layer which shows her plaits is a creamy colour on top. If you don't have that many similar shades, then you can help simplify it by clicking Colour Sync over on the top, scroll down, and then find the solid layer of her hair, which is the one called F9, F2, F0. Click and drag that onto the one which is 6 Fs, and that's pure white. And if you do that, that means the solid layer of her hair changes to white, and that's just one less colour you'll need when cutting it out. I want to cut mine in the original intended colours, so I'm going to click Undo to put that back. And now when I click Make It, it will separate it out into all of the different colours. To change the paper size, get into the drop down here and select the paper you want to use, and you will need to do this for every single colour. You can click and drag to move things about, so you can try and fit more bits onto one sheet. I'm not sure if I could fit this piece in there. You need to make sure none of the bits are touching. And sadly, that just about is. I was hoping I could maybe have fitted the piece from here on here as well as this one, but it's not looking hopeful if I can't fit that next to there. What if I rotate it a little bit? I kind of like this part. It's kind of like Jenga. I'm going to give it a try. So click the 3 little dots, move object. Make sure you choose the same colour of card and press confirm. Ah, that holly leaf. Oh no. Oh, it would have been so perfect. What if I do that? Yay! Okay, so I've got all of these three shapes fitting on the same mat now, which means this one is empty. Don't worry about that because when you click continue and connect to your Cricut machine, it'll get rid of any empty ones. So go ahead and change your paper size and get all of your layers where you want them to go. And then press continue to connect to your Cricut, get everything cut out from cardstock, and then I'll show you how to stick it all together. Here are all of the layers of my Mrs. Claus gnome cut out, and I've laid them one on top of the other to check I'm happy with all of the colours and that I haven't missed anything out. We're going to be sticking her from the bottom up, so we need to move away all of these layers so that we're only left with the bottom two. I like to try to keep these sort of sets of layers together when I'm moving them apart, as it makes it easier to know where to stick them back together again when we get to them. So taking the hat off and the plate of cookies, and then we'll do all of the hair. Okay, and then we're left with these two bottom pieces. We're going to be sticking all of these layers together with a combination of glue and 3D foam pads. The glue I like to use is called Collall. I really like it because it doesn't bend or wrinkle the cardstock like other glues can do, and I put it into these needle tip applicator bottles that I buy on Amazon. For the 3D foam pads, I'm using these ones from Dot & Dab. They are a little bit big, so I'm going to have to cut them smaller with some scissors, but any of this kind of foam pads or foam tape or something will do. It's just to give it a little bit of dimension between the layers. For this one, we'll start with our foam. So I'm going to turn it upside down, and then here are all of my pieces of foam that I've cut in half just to make them smaller. I'll start by putting the pieces of foam around the edge of the back of this red piece. As well as putting the foam all the way around the edge, you need some in the middle as well to give it a nice, firm, stable, level surface for that piece of cardstock to sit on. If you didn't put any foam in the middle of the design, you'll find that the cardstock will dome downwards and it won't be flat, which means your 3D effect won't be as impressive. So lots of bits in the middle there too, and then peel the tops off to reveal all of the stickiness underneath. We'll line this up by gently positioning the hat, lining it up, and also the corner of those hair pieces at the bottom. Gently drop it down, and then if you're not happy, you can pick it up easily and reposition it. But that's looking good to me, so I'm going to push it down to get all of those foam pads really well stuck. The next layer is this white one, which is making up the bottom of the dress and also the white behind there. And this will be a glue layer. I like the big glue layers because you can wiggle them about to make sure they're all lined up properly. Then next we have the bottom layer of the hair, which is this solid layer, and it also makes up just the top of that apron. I use foam for this one to give the hair some depth out from the body, but I'm not going to try and add the foam into the piece of the apron detail. It's just too thin. And I think it should be sturdy enough to not dome down as it's not that big a piece. But if it does, it's not the end of the world anyway. It would kind of actually look a little bit nicer if it did bend downwards because it will cover up that a little bit cleaner. But we shall see. Line it up just like we did before with the top of the hat and then the corners of the hair, and push down when you're happy with how it's looking. Next we have the detail layer of the hair, and as with all of the detail layers, this one is a glue layer. Sits perfectly on top. And now we've got two choices. We can either do the hat or the cookies. Let's go for the cookies. My glue's smushed out a little bit there. Let's just wipe that off. Now, these come in quite a few pieces. I'll start with the plate, which I'll do as a glue layer. On top of that is the blue layer, which is the detail on the plate to give you that rim. And that's another glue layer. For the cookies, this comes in 3 separate pieces. The bottom one will be a foam square layer to make it look like those cookies are just sat there, freshly baked on that plate. There, and then the other 2 cookie layers we will glue. First one, it has the little circle cutouts on it, and that shows the darker layer to look like chocolate chips. And then the final layer in that slightly darker brown gives it the definition of the 3 cookies and also makes it look like it's got lovely brown edges where they've been perfectly cooked. Her little hands will also be foamed on the back of each of these. I bent that a little bit where it was stuck to my finger, but I don't think it'll notice. I think they're symmetrical, so it doesn't matter that I've forgotten if I've done that round or not. Always good to double check though if you're not sure. Because once you've put your sticky stuff on, it's normally too late to change your mind. There. Next we have her hat. I'm going to use foam for this layer. I actually think she's easier to put together than the Santa Claus gnome from yesterday. What do you reckon? I really hope you enjoy making these gnomes. When I did the Halloween craft countdown back in October, the gnomes were some of the most popular projects. There was a wizard gnome and a witch gnome for Halloween. So I'm hoping that you like these 2 just as much. Okay. Stick that on there. Then the detail layer, all of that pattern, we will glue. Almost said the wrong word then. I knew what it was in my head. My head was saying glue and my mouth was saying foam. She looks a little bit funny at the moment. Red nose. It's supposed to be Rudolph, not Mrs. Claus. Now we've got this one on here. Think for her. See, I kind of want to glue it because I think that'll look better on her. But I know I foamed the white on the hat for the Mr. Claus. So do I want to make it match? Yeah, I probably should. Otherwise, if they're displayed together, if they're layered differently around the hats, it'll look weird. Careful not to do what I just did and bend that holly leaf up. It's going to have the green on top, so it won't notice, but I very nearly ripped it. There's that one. And then because for the other gnome, her little husband, I glued his nose, so I'll glue her nose as well. And then I glued the holly on the other one too, so I'll do the same. If you want to, you can use foam for this bit, but I want to keep it consistent. And one last piece, a little bit of glue in the middle to stick on the berries. Oh, just threw them everywhere. Now they're not going to be on the right way round, but I'm sure nobody will notice. And there we have her, our Mrs. Claus, with a nice freshly baked plate of cookies, ready to welcome Santa home after he's finished delivering all of those presents on Christmas Eve. I hope you enjoyed this video on how to make this really cute little Mrs. Claus gnome. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel for loads more Cricut crafts. I hope to see you tomorrow for day 10 of the Christmas Craft Countdown. Thank you for watching. Bye!